Am I live?
You're live.
Hi kids. So first step, make sure you've got your instructions. It's very important. And we're going to do the parts and tool inventory here first. So A is the neck, which I often just call the stick. So you need a neck, you need a can or a resonator. And then inside your can should be the parts baggie with, this is the tuning, or they call it the tuner, I call it the tuning machine. There's a brass finishing washer, there's 4 little tiny mounting screws and one, and those are Phillips, number 1 Phillips head. There's a slotted brass screw and a string. Actually 2 strings. I guess they gave you a spare because pretty good chance you'll break the first one, so they give you an extra. Tools. You need a drill. If you don't have a drill at home, then let me know and I can drill your holes for you, but you need some kind of a drill. With a 1/16 inch drill bit. That's really important because if your hole is too big, your screws won't grab. So you really have to make sure you have that 1/16 inch drill bit. If you don't, please let me know. I could loan you a drill bit. Scratch awl. So these are the ones, if you're borrowing one from me, it looks like this, kind of looks like a screwdriver. And it's got a protective tip on it, so make sure you slide off that little bit of tubing, otherwise you won't get the sharp end. So you'll see me use that. A tape measure or a ruler, so tape measure, or if you have like a yardstick. And sometimes you'll see, I'll probably actually use a small ruler as well. Number 1 cross point Phillips head driver bit or screwdriver, and you'll see me use both. So here I've got, and you have to make sure it's a number 1. Number 2 is a bigger bit and it's more common. That's like most of the screws around your household. 90% of them are going to be number 2. But again, that won't fit these screws. These screws are very small, so you have to make sure that it should say P1 or PH1 somewhere. It'll be stamped into the driver bit itself, or in this case I've got a number 1 screwdriver and it's marked on the end of the handle there, P1. So that's really important, and it's also important that it's in pretty good shape. If it's well used or abused and things are rounded, then you may be ruining your screws. It's really easy to strip those screws out. What else? I think that, oh, and a number 2, just a regular old flat blade screwdriver. And this is like the common size. I'm really not sure that's going to fit. We'll find out. To me it seems like this might be too, well, no, it looks okay. It should work. So just a regular old flat blade screwdriver. Alright, now, I turn the page and we're going to, step 1, prep the can. So it says, note the seam inside the can. So that's the seam where this can is crimped together. So there's, you see the inside of the can is smooth all the way around, and then there's a seam. And that seam wants to go down on the neck or on the stick. So you want the seam down. Okay, set the can on, yep, place your tape measure inside the bottom rim where the can seam meets the can bottom. So you put your tape measure or your ruler inside, like so. And oh, we're marking the hole, sorry. So measure from inside the rim 3/16. Okay, so this is where I would rather use a ruler. And you're going to have to pay attention to little graduations. If you can't figure out what 16ths are, ask a trusted adult to help you with that. And so we want to go from inside this rim here. So you're going to have to put your ruler on there carefully, and you want to go 3/16. So my ruler, luckily, is very clearly labeled 16, so it's not too hard for me to deduce what I need to do. I just need to go 1, 2, 3 of those 16ths. It's slippery, so don't push too hard. And then, now they say you can push the awl through, but be careful with that. You don't want to go too far, because you don't want to go way up here, because then your hole might be too big and your string could slip through. So hopefully you can see that that's tapered and then it gets really large. So you don't want to go way up here. That's too much. I don't even know if you'd want to go, not even a third of the way up that taper. So be careful with that. You don't want to go too far. So just a little tap. That hole is plenty big enough right there. It says right there, the hole need only be about 1/8 inch in diameter. So that's an option. You could just mark it with the awl, and then you could put a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill the hole. That would be an option. Okay. Okay. So the can is prepped. It says position the can on the neck. Lay the neck on your work surface. Fretboard up. There's a small pre-punched hole in the neck, this little dimple right there. Measure towards the bottom of the neck 24 5/8 inches or 641 millimeters. So you could use whatever measuring device you have, but if you happen to have well, actually this one works well for that. If you use a tape measure, you might want to use something called burning an inch, because trying to figure out where exactly to put that hook, that could be an issue. So a lot of carpenters will they'll put the 1 inch mark right there, and then they'll add an inch to their measurement. So we're supposed to be 24 5/8, so we want to go 25 5/8. Oh, and this one has I wonder if they all do. This one already has a very light mark. I wonder if they all have. Oh yeah. So it appears that most of the sticks actually have a very, very light mark, but you may have accidentally sanded it off, and it's always good to double check it anyway. So do measure that 24 5/8 inches. Place the can seam down on the neck, so where our hole is, and the inside. Okay, got it. So you want the edge of the can to be on that mark, and you want that hole to be right in the middle. And then my awl goes over here. You may want to get help with this part, holding like the can or something, but you need to go at an angle. You need to go through that rim, or at least mark it. And then we're going to use our 1/16 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill through that into the stick. And what? Okay, and then we're going to get one of our little screws. You might, if you guys have a little tray of some sort, you might want, just because these little parts They like to disappear. They like to roll off of tables.
A saucer would work fine.
Yeah, a lid. Any kind of a little plate. I'm not going to need the string for a while. That's big. And I'm more concerned about, this is a pick for plucking the strings. I'm more concerned about these little screws. Okay, and now we need to, especially a small screw like this, you need to lubricate it with something before you try to drive it into the hardwood, because otherwise, pretty good chance it'll break. So, you could use chapstick, you could use wax, you could use soap. Just because you all should have some kind of, it could be hand soap, anything. You just need to lubricate those threads just a little bit. Doesn't take much at all. But any kind of chapstick, wax, soap works fine too. The problem with soap is it makes your fingers really slippery. So I got my number 1 Phillips here. I need to make sure I'm lined up on that hole. I might. I don't use soap, guys. I'm struggling right now because now my fingers are slippery. I usually use some type of wax or chapstick. You could use a bar of soap too, that would be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get that started so the tip of the screw is poking out just a little bit. And that way it will drop down into that hole. And then you really want to make sure you have positive engagement in that screw, so I'm pushing down on it as I turn. I'm putting quite a bit of pressure. And if you have a drill or a driver, it'll make it easy, but same thing. You want to make sure you're really bearing down. You're putting some force and pressure on that. I think that's fine. Okay, and then should be similar thing. Whoa, my strings unwound like a slinky. Okay, so my seam isn't perfectly on the stick, and that's okay. I must not have been paying attention when I marked it. It's not a big deal, but you do want to make sure that that it looks straight before you do that front hole. So it might help to hold it at arm's length, just make sure that looks even on both sides. And then we will make a mark on this end and drill that out. You don't need, those screws aren't very long, so you don't need to go very deep. And then, I wish I had some chapstick, but don't forget to lubricate those threads. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. And if you have any kind of paste wax or beeswax, you might like using that better. It's so slippery.
Candle wax?
Yep, candle wax. Paraffin wax. I don't know. People probably don't do much home canning anymore, I don't think. Yeah, an old candle would work fine. Good enough. Alright, let's do next. So the can is on the stick. Next step. Okay, so now we're working at this end where that dimple is. So just make sure that's well defined. You might want to stick the awl in there and twist it a little bit more, and then we're going to drill another. And this one really doesn't have to be very deep. You don't want to drill through the stick, especially into your dining room table or your kitchen table. Probably wouldn't make mom and dad too happy. And then this is where you only have one of these. It's the brass slotted screw. And again, a little bit of soap. This thing's tricky such a little guy. Might want to just get it in there and just push down a little bit. Could even give it a little tap. Now, is this really going to fit in there? That's what I was wondering. That's a small screw. Maybe just. You might need a smaller screwdriver for this. I don't think this one's going to go. I'll grab a different one. This one's a little sharper. Barely. I'm not sure this goes in all the way. Yeah, and you can adjust it. I wouldn't put it all the way down. I would leave a gap. And this, boy, it really wants a skinnier blade, thinner blade. This one will work for sure. And then what's going to be really important is that the slot of the screw is parallel with the side of the neck, because the string is going to run through that slot to the tuning machine. So you have to make sure that that slot is perpendicular to the frets, parallel to the sides, because your string is going to be running through it. That's what's going to hold the string in place. And that's also going to be what adjusts the height of the string above the frets. So you can adjust that up and down later if you need to. And now our tuner. So this goes... So I've got my numbers here for the frets. And we want our tuning machine to be installed on the same side as the numbers. So you just push this shaft into that hole, like so, and you want to probably want to slide your can off the table so that it's not, you don't want to deform it. So hang the can off of the edge of the table, and now we're going to use our awl again to. So I always kind of come in at an angle to kind of just see where I'm at, and then you want to push straight down and give a little twist. And the same thing over here, come in at an angle. So make sure that because you need to be able to make sure you can see that tip, and make sure it's in the center of the hole. So start at an angle so you can see where the tip is, and then straight up, put some pressure and twist it a bit. And then a good old 1/16 inch drill bit. Go down about 1/4 of an inch is plenty. And our last 2 screws. A little bit of soap. Number 1 Phillips. And another thing I will caution you, if you're going to use the power drill or driver, be careful not. These screws they're not that strong. It's pretty easy to break them with one of these. So I actually don't go all the way down with the power tool. Power tool is nice and fast and easy, but I would always hand tighten it. So, because you can feel what's happening. You can feel when it's snug. And again, these aren't going to be, they're not, these fasteners aren't very big, so they're not going to be really tight. They're just going to be snug. Like, you just want to make sure that there isn't, you know, a big gap, a big air gap. You just want to make sure that it's being held down onto the wood, and that's good enough. Okay, so there's our, so this is called a worm gear. This part here, so that's the part you're going to be turning, and then that goes to a crown gear, and that crown gear is attached to that shaft, and that is how you're going to change the tension of the string, and as the string gets tighter, the pitch will go up. So that's one way you can change the pitch. The other way is to shorten or lengthen the string, and that's what the frets are for. So two different ways you can change the pitch of a string. You can increase tension. Okay, so I'll show you how I did that. So this end of the string is called the ball end of the string. It's got that little spacer. And then this is the plain end. So you want to feed the plain end, and then this is the brass washer. And you want to do it this way, so that the flat side is going to go against the can. And then that just drops onto the ball end. And you feed it through this hole. There you go. So you want the washer to be above the that screw there, and it should be flat against the bottom of the can. Now, we string it up. So I'm wondering how they... I am not real familiar with this style of tuner. So this is going to be new for me. I haven't used this style of tuner for many, many years. String it up. Probably should pause here. So, okay. All right. So we just take the end of our string, and we want to wrap it around that shaft. So just go outside, and then you're going to come back up through. It says a few times, so I guess that means 3. And so we'll go around. Is Judy done?
No,
Huh?
actually,
Oh, I thought you were waving somebody.
no, I was telling you 5.
Oh, you think go around 5 times?
You're the teacher.
Well, because you're going to end up with more wraps.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of this style of tuner, but I'm sure we'll get it done. It's kind of like a bird's nest. Come on.
Take your awl as a tool. Straighten it.
Okay, I'm going to go one more. And this time when I come up, then we're going to go back down in that hole in the center of the shaft. So we're going to go down there. But first I think I want to pull out some of that slack. I'm going to try that and see what happens. So we're going to go down through the center of the hole. And we'll start turning the tuning machine. So we want to go counterclockwise. So as I'm looking at this, I'm going to turn it counterclockwise. Start taking the slack out of this thing. And I'm holding tension. I'm holding this taut because I don't want it to slip. I want it to catch, and it'll start tightening up around the shaft eventually. It's going to take a little bit. And then as it gets tight, you're going to want to make sure the string is going through the slot in the screw. This is the trickiest part of the whole thing, and it always is with any guitar. There we got a pitch. And then what's interesting, they don't mention clipping it off. Of course you got to clip it off. You don't need all that excess. That's interesting. So you guys are actually going to need, you'll need some sort of a cutter to cut this, all this extra slack. So let me know if you need clippers. Yeah, but these strings are pretty hard, so I wouldn't want them to damp.
Okay, you're on.
Okay. I'm just gonna take a look, see here. My brass washer slipped up over my screw, and I want it flat against the cam like that, so you want to pay attention. And so what that just did was that loosened the string, and we have a much lower pitch, so you'll have to tune it up to pitch again. Now if you're playing alone at home, just you, then just tune it to a note that sounds good to you. Oops. But if you're playing with others, hopefully they know what they're doing, because you'll have to be tuned in the same key. So you could either be in the same exact key, you could tune to the same note, or you could tune it to a pitch that fits that key. But if you're playing with a real musician, they'll know that. And you can get free apps on your phone. This is one that I like. It's called Guitar Tuna, and the basic tuner is free. And so it says there it's telling us we're really close to an E. You want the microphone to be close. Oh, a B. So we're a little bit high. So there, that's a B. But if I wanted to go higher, like if I wanted to go to B, wait, we were in B wrong. If you wanted to go to E, a little bit more, there we go. Okay, and then look at the height above the height of the string above the frets, and I don't particularly, I think that looks pretty good, but you could adjust that screw up or down if you want your strings a little, if you want your string a little bit closer or farther away. Either way is fine. And then you are going to need some clippers to get rid of all this extra. So whoever controls the tools in your house, you're going to want to talk to them. Just make sure you're not using the wrong clippers, because this music wire it is fairly hard, and if you use the
Toenail clippers.
like fingernail clippers would cut it, but might leave a dent in your fingernail clipper. So it depends. If you've got a junky old utility set of fingernail clippers, then that would work fine. But just make sure it's not your good set, and that's all there is to it, guys. So and then we'll do another video on playing this thing and what, but these are called frets, and that's what makes your notes. So the open, I think we tune to an E, and then let's see, F, that's gonna be F, so E, F, G, and then back to A, B, C, E. Oh. There is one sharp, that's interesting. So E, E, F, G, and then back to A, B, C, C sharp, D, C sharp or D flat, so that's the highest note on the fretboard, because that's our 11th fret is our last one, and then there are little songs in the back, and then there are hundreds and hundreds of songs you can search for online, and if it says 0, that means you just play it open, so twinkle twinkle, so it's going to be open open, and then 4 4 5 5 4, so and then down to 3 2 1 open, right? And then 4 4. And then I will send you some Christmas tunes, and maybe we'll try to play some holiday music together or something. So that's all there is to it, and question and answers will be answered in the live Google Meets, or you can email me, whatever you need. Okay, enjoy, have fun, see you later.